The elevator doors hissed open on the 52nd floor, and there he was, Nicholas Hale, frozen like a deer in headlights, his hand buried deep in the executive safe. The soft click of the lock tumblers still echoed in the marble-floored lobby of Haletech's headquarters, but it was the raw gasp that escaped Brandon Hale's lips that shattered the midnight silence. "What the hell are you doing?" Brandon's voice cracked like thunder, his heart slamming against his ribs as the betrayal sank in. Not just the theft, but the face of the man he'd trusted. The one whose quiet smiles had started to chip away at the walls Brandon had built around his soul. Nicholas whipped around, his green eyes wide with terror, the safe's door swinging open like an accusation. In his fist dangled a fistful of cash, 20 grand stack, pilfered from the petty fund Brandon had authorized for emergency hires. But it wasn't the money that made Nicholas's knees buckle. It was the way Brandon looked at him, not with the cold fury of a CEO catching a crook, but with the haunted gaze of a lover spotting a ghost. "Brandon, please, it's not what it looks like," Nicholas stammered, the words tumbling out like broken glass, slicing through the air between them. Brandon's hand shot out, grabbing Nicholas's wrist with a grip forged from years of boardroom battles and bedroom regrets. The cash fluttered to the carpet like fallen leaves in Central Park, but Brandon's eyes locked on the messenger bag slung over Nicholas's shoulder, bulging, unzipped, screaming guilt. "Open it," Brandon growled, his voice low and lethal, the kind that had toppled competitors but now trembled with something deeper, something raw. As Nicholas fumbled with the zipper, the bag spilled its secrets, forged invoices, a burner phone, and at the bottom, glinting under the fluorescent hum, a silver locket, heart-shaped and etched with "Forever Yours, B." Brandon's world tilted. He snatched it up, the chain cool against his fevered palm, and the past crashed over him like a Hudson River wave. Brandon Hale had built an empire on code and caffeine, turning a dingy Brooklyn garage startup into Haletech, a fintech behemoth that dotted the Manhattan skyline with its glass towers. At 42, he was the poster boy for the American Dream 2.0, sharp suits from Fifth Avenue tailors, a penthouse overlooking the East River, and a Rolodex of senators who owed him favors. But beneath the veneer of success lurked shadows, nights spent staring at the ceiling, haunted by the ghost of a love lost to the relentless grind of Wall Street ambition. His ex, Alex, had walked out 5 years ago, muttering something about needing space from your empire, leaving Brandon with nothing but echoes and that damn locket, which he'd tossed into a drawer and forgotten. Or so he thought. Nicholas Hale, no relation, thank God, or the tabloids would have had a field day, was the quiet anomaly in Brandon's meticulously curated world. 28, fresh off a coding boot camp in Queens, he'd landed the junior developer gig 6 months ago through sheer grit and a demo app that predicted stock dips with eerie accuracy. Nicholas was the kind of guy who blended into the background. Tousled auburn hair that begged for a comb, wire-rimmed glasses perpetually slipping down his nose, and a smile that lit up the open-plan office like sunlight-piercing Gotham fog. He coded like a poet, turning algorithms into symphonies, and Brandon had noticed. Hell, everyone had. Late nights debugging servers turned into shared takeout from the halal cart on 53rd. Awkward laughs over falafel that evolved into stories swapped over craft beers at the Dead Rabbit. It started innocently enough. A brush of shoulders in the elevator. The way Nicholas's laugh crinkled his eyes when Brandon cracked a dry joke about venture capitalists being vampires. Brandon, who hadn't dated since Alex, too busy, too scarred, found himself lingering by Nicholas's desk, pretending to review pull requests. "You're good, kid," he'd say, clapping a hand on Nicholas's shoulder, feeling the warmth seep through the thin cotton of his button-down. Nicholas would blush, mumbling thanks, his gaze flicking up with a spark that made Brandon's pulse stutter. It was dangerous territory. HR seminars on workplace romance echoed in his head, but so did the loneliness that gnawed at him like a bad trade. One rainy Thursday, after a team happy hour at a Soho dive bar, Nicholas had confessed over whiskey sours. "I'm gay, you know. Haven't told many at work." The words hung between them like smoke from the bartender's cigarette, and Brandon, "Steel yourself." Hale leaned in, voice husky. "Me too. Been a while since I've said it out loud." The bar's jukebox wailed some Springsteen ballad about broken highways, and for a moment, the city outside blurred. They didn't kiss. Not then. But the air crackled with possibility, the kind that promised to rewrite lonely code into something shared. But Nicholas carried burdens Brandon couldn't see. Back in his cramped Astoria walk-up, rent ate half his paycheck, and the other half went to meds for his mom, a retired nurse battling lymphoma in a Jersey hospice. Dad had bailed when Nicholas was 12, leaving behind debts that snowballed like a Ponzi scheme. Coding was his ticket out, but the system was rigged. Student loans from that boot camp chained him tighter than any algorithm. Desperation whispered in the dark, "Just a little skim. Enough for one more round of chemo." It started small, padding expense reports, rerouting vendor payments. By month 5, it had escalated to the safe in Brandon's office, unlocked with a pilfered keycard and a prayer. That night, as the clock struck 2 a.m., Nicholas had slipped into the executive suite, heart pounding like a bass drop at Output nightclub. The safe yielded easily, too easily, a testament to Brandon's trust in his team. 20 grand. Enough to buy time, to keep mom breathing. But as he stuffed the bills into his bag, the locket tumbled out from a hidden pocket, a talisman he'd carried since his own coming out at 18. Inside, a faded photo of 2 boys on a Coney Island boardwalk, arms slung around each other, grins wide as the Atlantic. One was Nicholas, gangly and freckled. The other, a carbon copy of a younger Brandon Hale, from a summer camp scholarship photo that had gone viral in queer zines back in '09. Nicholas had found it at a flea market in Bushwick, drawn to the engraving, "Forever yours, B," not knowing it was fate's cruel joke. The door didn't creak. Elevators in these towers were silent assassins. Brandon, sleepless as usual, had come up for one last email check, bourbon flask in hand to chase the ghosts. Seeing Nicholas there, silhouetted against the city lights, bag agape, it was like watching his own heart get vivisected. "Open it," he demanded again. And now, with the locket in his palm, the room spun. He flipped it open, the tiny hinge protesting like an old wound reopening. The photo stared back, him and his camp crush, Ethan. Summers ago, before Ethan OD'd on Bad Molly at a Pride after-party, leaving Brandon adrift. But the other boy, wait, no, that freckled kid was impossible. Nicholas, Brandon whispered, the name a lifeline tossed into abyss. Nicholas sank to his knees, tears carving tracks down his cheeks. "I didn't mean, Mom's sick, Brandon. I swear, the money's for her. Please." But Brandon's eyes were glued to the locket, the inscription burning, "Forever yours, B." It was his handwriting, etched in a moment of teenage bravado. How? Stolen from his desk during a tour? No. This was deeper, a thread pulling them back to a past neither knew they shared. In that suspended heartbeat, Brandon saw it all. The boy who'd haunted his dreams, the one who'd slipped away after camp, too shy to exchange numbers. Nicholas, had he been that kid? The freckles matched. The green eyes. Ethan, Brandon breathed, the name a ghost slipping free. Nicholas's head snapped up, confusion warring with fear. What? No. It's Nick. The pieces shattered into place. Not Ethan, but the other boy from that summer. The one who'd shared stolen kisses under the stars. Who Brandon had mourned as lost when he vanished post-camp. Nicholas Hale, alias for a foster kid shuffling systems, had been that boy Nick, the quiet artist who'd sketched Brandon's profile in charcoal, then faded into the city's underbelly. Fate's sick punchline. The love he'd buried was embezzling from him, bag and all. Brandon dropped the locket, the clink echoing like a gavel. Get out, he said, voice hollow as the canyons between skyscrapers. Nicholas scrambled up, bag clutched like a shield, bolting for the elevator. The doors closed on his sob, leaving Brandon alone with the spilled cash and a heart cracked wider than the Brooklyn Bridge at rush hour. But as the adrenaline ebbed, so did the fury. In its wake sloshed regret, thick as the bourbon in his flask. What now? Call security? The cops? Or chase the ghost down the rabbit hole of his own making? Dawn broke gray over the Hudson, painting the office in bruise-purple light. Brandon paced, phone in hand, dialing numbers he never thought he'd need, his lawyer, a PI from the old neighborhood, and finally, Nicholas's emergency contact, a Jersey hospice that confirmed the story. Mom's chemo stalled for lack of funds. Guilt gnawed deeper than any audit. He remembered that summer now, vivid as yesterday. Bonfires on Long Island Sound, tentative hands linking in the dark, promises whispered against salt-sprayed skin. Nick had vanished after a foster placement yanked him away. No forwarding address in the pre-smartphone haze. Brandon had searched, half-heartedly, burying the ache under Ivy League acceptances and startup pitches. By noon, the office buzzed with whispers, security footage scrubbed, an internal audit memo circulated to quash rumors. Brandon called Nicholas in, the summons terse as a pink slip. Nicholas arrived at 3, suit rumpled, eyes red-rimmed, expecting handcuffs or a severance check. Instead, Brandon slid a chair across the desk, gesturing with the bourbon flask half empty now. Sit. Talk. Nicholas collapsed into the leather, words spilling like rain on Broadway. Mom's diagnosis, the mounting bills, the boot camp loans that promised escape but delivered chains. I hated it, Brandon. Hated lying to you, to us. The us hung there, unspoken but electric. A nod to those elevator glances, the bar confessions. Brandon leaned forward, elbows on desk, the locket dangling from his fingers like bait. This. Where'd you get it? Nicholas's laugh was bitter, a choke on unshed tears. Flea market, 2 years back. Saw the photo. The bee. Thought it was some rom-com relic. Kept it for luck. Dumb as that sounds. Then you hired me, and... shit. The universe is twisted. He reached out, hesitant, fingers brushing Brandon's. The touch ignited, sparks from a live wire, memories flooding, that camp dock, lips meeting under a harvest moon. Brandon pulled back, not ready. You stole from me, Nick. From Hailtech. That's not a rom-com. That's felony. Nicholas nodded, chin to chest. I know. Fire me, sue me, whatever. Just don't hate me. The plea twisted something primal in Brandon, a roar against the isolation he'd armored himself with. He stood, circling the desk, pulling Nicholas up by the collar. Not rough, but urgent. Their faces inches apart, breaths mingling like fog on the Charles. Hate you, kid? I've spent 15 years hating myself for losing you. The kiss was inevitable, a dam breaking after monsoon rains. Brandon's lips crashed into Nicholas's, tasting salt and whiskey and second chances. Hands roamed, fingers tangling in hair, palms pressing backs, as the city thrummed below, oblivious. They broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed, the locket caught between them like a vow renewed. But trust, once shattered, doesn't glue seamless. That night, in Brandon's penthouse, views of the Williamsburg Bridge twinkling like stars, they made love slow and deliberate, bodies mapping old territories with new reverence. Nicholas traced the scars on Brandon's chest, faint from a childhood surgery. Brandon kissed the freckles across Nicholas's shoulders, constellations he'd once charted blind. Whispers filled the dark. I never stopped looking. I thought you forgot. Climax came in waves, crashing and receding, leaving them tangled in Egyptian cotton, hearts sinking like flawless code. Morning brought reality's bite. Nicholas's phone buzzed. Hospice update. Mom stable but needing more. The 20 grand was a drop in the Atlantic. Brandon wired 50. No strings. But the gesture felt like a transaction, cooling the afterglow. This changes nothing about the theft, Brandon said over room service eggs Benedict. Voice CEO crisp. Nicholas nodded, but his eyes shadowed betrayal's echo. Work resumed, awkward as a glitchy app. Stolen glances in meetings, lunches that skirted the personal. Rumors swirled in the break room. Hale's golden boy got a pass? Nepo hire, fueled by a disgruntled VP smelling blood. 2 weeks in, the conflict crested. A board audit uncovered the discrepancies. Not just Nicholas's but a pattern, someone higher up skimming for years. Fingers pointed, the CFO, Marcus Hale, no relation again. Irony's gift, a silver fox with a poker face and a gambling habit that rivaled Vegas high rollers. Marcus had mentored Nicholas, slipping him tips on reports that masked his own fraud. Betrayal doubled. Not just the boy Brandon loved, but the uncle figure who'd shaped his empire, now exposed as a thief in sheep's clothing. The boardroom on the 55th floor was a coliseum of glass and egos, where deals died and fortunes rose like Wall Street tickers. Brandon called the emergency meeting at dawn, coffee black as his mood, the locket tucked in his breast pocket like a talisman against the storm. Nicholas waited outside, summoned as a witness, his palms slick with sweat. Marcus arrived last, Armani suit impeccable, a shark smile masking the panic in his eyes. What's this about, Bran? Family brunch too early. Brandon didn't smile back. He projected the ledger on the smart wall, red flags blinking like hazard lights on the FDR drive. Diverted funds to offshore shells, invoices ghosted through Nicholas's codes but signed by Marcus's digital sig. Family? Cut the crap. Mark. You've been bleeding us dry for 2 years. And you dragged him into it. He jerked a thumb toward the door, where Nicholas hovered like an accused in a lineup. Marcus's facade cracked, just a hairline fracture. Kid's a patsy, you know that. Desperate types are easy marks. He leaned back, steepling fingers, the picture of boardroom nonchalance. But Brandon saw the tell, a twitch in his jaw, same as when they'd hustled poker in college dorms. I trusted you, Brandon said. voice dropping to that lethal timbre. Built this with you, and you repay it by turning our people into mules. Nicholas burst in then, unable to stomach the weight, his face a mask of fury and shame. You said it was legit. Just rear out the vendor pay. Kid, no harm. His voice broke on the last, echoing off the windows. Marcus shrugged, cold as a winter wind off the battery. Survival of the fittest. Nicky, you think Hale hears any different? Golden Boy gets a pass, 'cause he warms the boss's bed. The room iced over. Brandon's fist clenched, knuckles whitening. Nicholas flushed crimson. Betrayal's sting sharper than any knife. You son of a... Nicholas lunged. But Brandon caught him, arm banding around his waist like an anchor. Easy, he murmured, lips to ear. But the damage was done. Marcus's laugh was ugly, a bark that ricocheted. Oh, please. Spare me the rom-com. I clocked you 2 months ago, elevator eyes, after hours debugging, pathetic. And now this? You'll tank the stock with scandal. He wasn't wrong. By lunch, leaks hit the street, anonymous tips to Bloomberg about internal fraud and executive impropriety. Hale Tech shares dipped 8%. Vultures circling with buyout offers. Reporters swarmed the lobby. Mics thrust like swords. Mr. Hale, is the theft linked to your personal life? Brandon stonewalled, ushering Nicholas through a back exit to the company SUV. Tinted windows a flimsy shield. Inside, silence stretched taut as a tightrope over the East River. Nicholas broke it first, voice small. I'm sorry. For everything. You should have let me take the fall. Brandon gripped the wheel, merging onto the BQE, horns blaring like accusations. And what? Lose you again? Not this time. He glanced over. Nicholas's profile etched in sodium light, vulnerable as that camp kid by the fire. The pull was magnetic, hand-reaching, fingers lacing over the gearshift. We're in this, Nick. Together, but togetherness fractured under pressure. That night, in the penthouse, lovemaking turned frantic, a clash of need and fear. Brandon pinned Nicholas to the sheets, thrusts deep and demanding, as if he could fuck the doubt away. Nicholas arched, nails raking back, moans mingling with sobs. Don't let go, Bran. Please. Release came explosive, bodies shuddering, but afterglow soured quick. Nicholas rolled away, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin. Marcus is right. I'm your weakness. Brandon propped on elbow, tracing jawline with thumb. You're my strength, idiot. Always were, but words rang hollow against the audit's hammer. Days blurred. Lawyers deposing Marcus, who lawyered up and sang like a canary, implicating suppliers, competitors, even a city councilman on the take. Nicholas testified, voice steady but eyes haunted, painting himself as the duped newbie. The board rallied loyalists like Sarah from Legal, who cornered Brandon in the stairwell. He's clean, but optics, boss. Date him quiet or date the headlines. Optics. The word festered like bad code. Publicly, Brandon played the stoic CEO, pressers at the Harvard Club, touting zero tolerance while privately wiring funds to the hospice, anonymous but traced back by a nosy nurse who tipped off page 6. Tech Titan's secret squeeze. Fraud or forbidden love? Screamed the headline. Photo of them blurry at that Soho bar. Nicholas's phone exploded. Old friends from the boot camp ghosting. Family in Jersey prying. That true? Nicky? Dating the boss. Paranoia crept in, a virus in the system. Nicholas started sleeping at his Astoria hole, claiming space to think. But Brandon smelled the lie, fear of tainting the empire, of being the embezzler's arm candy. One night, Brandon showed up unannounced, Chinese takeout in hand, rain slicking his coat. Nicholas's roommate, a drag queen named Lulu, eyed him warily before vanishing to a gig. Inside, the apartment was a time capsule. Posters of indie bands, codes scribbled on napkins, that locket on the nightstand like a sentinel. They ate cross-legged on the futon, low main cooling between awkward silences. "Miss this," Nicholas said, chopsticks pausing. "Us." Before the mess, Brandon set his carton down, pulling him close, noses brushing. "Miss you every damn second." The kiss started soft, exploratory, tongues tentative, hands rediscovering curves. Deepened, clothes shedding like old skins, until Nicholas straddled him, grinding slow, friction building like a market rally. "Love you," Nicholas gasped, sinking down, enveloping Brandon in heat and homecoming. They moved in sync, hips rolling, breaths harmonizing, passion reclaiming what scandal stole. But dawn brought the call. Marcus, out on bail, had vanished, flight to Cayman Islands, assets frozen but grudges hot. A threat email hit Brandon's inbox. Grainy pics of Nicholas leaving the hospice, time-stamped with "pay up" or "pretty boys next." Panic surged, paternal and possessive. Brandon insisted on security, bodyguards shadowing Nicholas to work, trackers on his phone. "For your safety," he argued over breakfast at Le Bernardin, but Nicholas bristled, fork clattering. "I'm not a kept man, Bran. Or a kid you need to protect." The fight escalated in the limo ride back, tires hissing on wet pavement. "This is real. Nick, that bastard could hurt you. Hurt us." Nicholas's eyes flashed. Green fire. "Us? Or your image? Admit it, you're ashamed." The words landed like a short cell, gutting Brandon. "Ashamed? Of loving you? After all this?" He grabbed Nicholas's hand, but it jerked free. "Then prove it. Fire the goons. Trust me like you did at camp." Brandon couldn't, not fully. The board pressured. "Clean house. Hail. Start with the boyfriend." Whispers of buyouts grew louder. Shareholders bang. In a moment of weakness, Brandon agreed to a mutual parting. Nicholas's resignation, gilded with a payout masking the hush. He delivered the news in his office. Door locked, voice cracking. "It's temporary. Till the heat dies." Nicholas stood rigid, bag slung over shoulder, irony's echo. "Temporary. Like us." He didn't wait for answer. Striding out, the elevator ding of finality. Grief hit Brandon like a crash. Nights in the penthouse, bourbon oceans. The locket clutched till knuckles ached. He threw himself into the fight. PI tracking Marcus to a dive in Nassau, FBI looping in on wire fraud. But victory tasted ash without Nicholas to share it. A month in, at a gala for queer youth scholarships. Ironic, given his ghosts, Brandon spotted him across the room at the Met, tux sharp, laughing with donors. Jealousy flared, hot as a server overload. He cornered Nicholas in the coat check, alcove shadowed. "You ghosted me." Nicholas turned, composure cracking. "You pushed me out." The air thickened, charged. Brandon stepped closer. "Walls be damned. I was scared. Of losing you for good." Nicholas's resolve melted, hands fisting Brandon's lapels. Then fight for me. No more games. Their reunion kiss was public scandal. Flashes popping like gunfire, but neither cared. Tongues battled. Bodies pressing. A declaration amid the velvet drapes. Later, in a cab speeding to Astoria, hands roamed under coats. Urgency building. At Nicholas's door, they tumbled in. Lulu catcalling from the kitchen. Clothes flew. On the futon, Nicholas rode him fierce, reclaiming agency, moans echoing off thin walls. Mine, Brandon growled, flipping them, pounding deep, sealing vows in sweat and release. But peace was fleeting. Marcus, cornered, struck back, leaking docs framing Nicholas as the mastermind, twisted audits painting him the snake. Arrest warrant issued. Paparazzi at the hospice door. Nicholas, cornered, faced cuffs in the rain-slicked lobby, Mom's hand weak in his. Run, she whispered, but he stood tall, eyes on Brandon bursting through the scrum. He's innocent, Brandon roared to the cameras, arm around Nicholas, a shield of flesh and fury. The precinct smelled of stale coffee and regret, fluorescent buzz drilling into Brandon's skull as he paced the holding room. Nicholas sat cuffed to the table, wrists chafed red, green eyes dull as dollar store jade. The detective, a burly Irishman named O'Brien with a mustache like a 70s cop show, flipped through files, mustache twitching. Your boy's got a paper trail longer than the Verrazano. Forged cigs. Ghost accounts. Looks bad, Mr. Hale. Brandon slammed a hand on the table. Rolex glinting. It's fabricated. Marcus Riley, ex-CFO. Flight risk. Cooked it to cover his ass. Check the metadata. Timestamps don't match. O'Brien eyed him, skeptical but intrigued. You vouching for him? Personally. The word hung loaded. Subtext screaming tabloid fodder. Brandon met Nicholas's gaze, steady as the Empire State. With everything I've got. Bail hearing was a circus. Courthouse steps mobbed. Reporters shouting queer CO's felon fling. Over the din. Brandon's lawyer, a shark from Skadden, shredded the prelims, alibis from Sarah in legal, forensics pulling Marcus's IP from the forgeries. Judge granted bail. A cool $1 million posted by Brandon without blink. Outside, in the chaos, Nicholas gripped his arm, whisper fierce. You didn't have to. Shut up and kiss me. Brandon cut in, claiming his mouth amid flashes. A fuck you to the world. The kiss was defiant, tongues tangling, hands cupping necks, passion as protest. Cabs honked. Wolf whistles mixed with jeers, but they broke apart laughing, breathless, alive. Back at the penthouse, Nicholas's stuff already shipped up. No more Astoria limbo, they crashed through the door, shedding Burberry in the foyer. Elevator mirrors fogged with their reflections. Shirts unbuttoned, belts clinking free. In the bedroom, city lights painting stripes on skin. Brandon knelt, taking Nicholas slow, reverent, lips and tongue worshipping, drawing gasps like symphonies. Nicholas threaded fingers in hair, hips bucking. Bran, God. Climax hit soft, shuddering, Nicholas spilling with a cry that echoed off the beams. They lay after, sheets twisted, fingers tracing tattoos. Brandon's a subtle rainbow on his rib. Nicholas's a binary code heart over his pulse. Remember camp? Nicholas murmured, head on chest. You carved our initials in that oak by the lake. Brandon chuckled. Low rumble. Got us demerits. Worth it. Stories flowed. The Foster shuffle that erased Nick's tracks. Brandon's climb masking the void. Vulnerability bridged gaps, forging intimacy deeper than lust. But Marcus lurked, a specter with teeth. From hiding, he escalated, doxing Nicholas's mom. Threats scrawled on hospice walls. Snitches get stitches. Brandon beefed security, installing cameras at the Jersey facility. But Nicholas chafed. She's dying, Bran. Let her have peace, not paranoia. Tension simmered, bubbling over at a family dinner. Takeout dim sum in the living room. Mom Hale wheeled in from treatment, frail but fierce. She took to Nicholas instant, eyes twinkling. Heard you code like a wizard, kid. Hack my 4 for extra morphine. Laughter eased knots. But when talk turned to the case, Mom's hand tightened on Nicholas's. Fight dirty if you must. Hales don't fold. Brandon watched them, chest tight. Family he'd denied himself, now blooming fragile. That night, after she slept on the guest pullout, he and Nicholas made love quiet, bodies spooned, thrusts gentle as whispers. Connection hummed, electric and tender, release a shared sigh into dawn. The high court date loomed like a thunderhead. Pretrial motions dragged weeks. Discovery dredging dirt. Marcus's gambling debts to Russian bookies. Ties to a cyberring hitting fintechs. Brandon testified first. Suit starched. Voice steel. Nicholas was groomed. I take responsibility for hiring the wrong snake. Cross-exam painted him lovesick fool. But jury diverse Manhattan mix. Queer reps nodding saw through. Nicholas's turn was raw. Stand trembling, recounting Mom's chemo calls. The safe's temptation. I chose wrong. But love, that's my redemption. Jury deliberated 2 days. Waiting was hell. Brandon pacing Central Park loops. Nicholas sketching in a notebook. Locket chain around his wrist. Verdict dropped like a gavel on glass. Not guilty. Charges folded into Marcus's indictment. Cheers erupted in the gallery. Outside, hugs crushed ribs. Tears salting kisses. Free, Nicholas breathed. Against Brandon's neck. Ours. Celebration hit the Standard Beer Garden. Rooftop thrumming with electronica. Skyline ablaze. They danced close, bodies swaying, hands low on hips, public now, unashamed. Shots of Tito's burn trails. Later, in a cab weaving Chelsea, fingers dipped hems, teasing. Penthouse called, but they detoured, a quickie in the elevator, pants shoved down, Brandon lifting Nicholas against mirrored walls. Thrusts urgent, mirrors multiplying ecstasy. Love you, panted with each drive. Release hot and messy, marking territory. Marcus's capture came swift. Interpol raid in a Belize villa, extradited in chains. Trial was swift, guilty on all, 20 to life in Otisville. His glare from the dock chilled. You two deserve each other. Ruin incarnate. But ruin? No. Hailtech rebounded. Shares soaring on the integrity pivot. Brandon's TEDx talk on trust in the algorithm age going viral. Nicholas co-author credited. Yet scars lingered. Nicholas's mom worsened. Chemo failing. They spent weekends in Jersey, holding hands by her bed, reading code aloud like bedtime stories. Proud of you, boys, she rasped one night, eyes glassy. Found your forever, she passed at midnight, morphine easing the sail, peaceful, surrounded. Funeral was small, rain-lashed graveside in Woodlawn, umbrellas blooming black. Nicholas shattered then, sobs racking, Brandon holding him through the mud. whispering, "I'm here." Always. Grief bonded them tighter. Therapy sessions in a village brownstone unpacking layers. Brandon's abandonment fears from Dad's Wall Street crash. Nicholas's foster fractures. Dates normalized. Brunch at Sarabeth's. Walks in the High Line. Hands linked bold. Sex evolved. Playful mornings with coffee breath. Lazy Sundays with toys from Babel and exploring edges, Nicholas topping. Brandon yielding. Trust's ultimate code. One crisp fall eve. 6 months post-verdict. Brandon led Nicholas blindfolded to the Brooklyn garage, original Hailtech haunt. Now a shrine. Uncovered eyes. Nicholas gasped. Strings of lights. Picnic on AstroTurf. The oak from camp replicated in a planter. Marry me. Brandon knelt. Ring simple. Silver band etched. Forever yours. N and B. Nicholas tackled him laughing. Yes, hell yes. Kisses tumbling like leaves. But romance's bloom hid thorns. A rival startup poached talent. Whispers of corporate sabotage. Marcus's bookies circling. Paranoia nipped. Arguments flared over late nights. Trust fraying. You're shutting me out again, Nicholas accused. Voice echoing the boardroom fight. Brandon snapped back. Protecting us. Distance grew. Cold sheets between. The breaking point. Anonymous leak. Doctored emails framing Nicholas in a new skim. Retaliation from Marcus's network. Cops at the door dawn. Cuffs clicking. Not again, Nicholas whispered. Defeated. Brandon fought. Lawyers. Alibis, but doubt crept. A worm in the apple. Interrogation room redux. Tell me it's not true. Nicholas's eyes broke him. It is. But not for me, for you. Confession spilled. Nicholas had planted bait code. A honeypot to lure the saboteurs. Risking frame-up to shield Hailtech. Couldn't lose your dream. Betrayal flipped. Brandon's lack of faith the real thief. He dropped charges. Exposed the ploy. But the wound festered. You gambled us, he hurled that night. Penthouse a battlefield. Nicholas packed. Bag slung, echo cruel. Maybe we were always a glitch. Door slammed. Elevator descended. Brandon sank to floor. Locket in fist. Alone with echoes. Weeks blurred into a gray November fog. Manhattan's chill mirroring the ice in Brandon's veins. Hailtech churned on autopilot. Mergers inked. Code deployed, but Brandon was a ghost in his own machine. Barking orders with hollow authority. Nicholas's absence was a void. Sucking air from rooms. His desk cleared. Coffee mug vanished. The faint scent of his cologne lingering like accusation in elevators. Board meetings dragged. Sarah cornered him post-adjournment. I soft. He's gone. But you're killing yourself. Call him. Pride wouldn't bend. Nights dissolved in solo bars. Stonewall dim corners. Nursing Manhattans. Rebuffing advances from pretty twinks who weren't green-eyed coders. One bleary AM. Scrolling X, formerly Twitter. A post hit. Nicholas's handle. At CodeGhost87. Tweeting fragments. Debugging heartbreak. If love equals false. Rebuild. Queer code. Retweets piled. Supporters from the bootcamp rallying. Brandon's thumb hovered like a glitch. Heart hammering. Reply or lurk. He lurked. Shame burning. Meanwhile, Nicholas crashed with Lulu in Astoria. Futon a throne of thorns. Gigs trickled, freelance apps for queer nonprofits. Teaching Python at the Y. But nights clawed. Dreams of Brandon's hands. Waking sweat damp. Locket heavy on chest. Mom's passing echoed. Loss layered. Not again, he'd mutter to the dark, scrolling old texts. Miss your chaos from Brandon, heart emojis chaining. Lulu dragged him out, drag nights at therapy, shots chasing specters, but eyes scanned crowds, hoping for a tailored suit. Re-entry came circuitous. A hacker con in Brooklyn, black hat vibes minus the malice. Nicholas demoed his honeypot, crowd buzzing. From the back, applause sharp, Brandon, incognito in hoodie, eyes locked. Post-talk, green room ambush, nice trap. Saved my ass. Nicholas stiffened, pulse racing. Stalking now, Brandon winced. Hands up. Recon. Needed to see you breathe. Words tumbled, apologies stacked like server logs. I doubted you. After everything. Nicholas's laugh bitter. Yeah. Felt like Camp 2.0, me vanishing. You building walls. Brandon stepped closer. Room shrinking. Tear him down? For real. The kiss ignited slow. Tentative, lips brushing. Then deepening. Hands framing faces. Heat built, but Nicholas pulled back. Breath ragged. Not here. Not half-assed. They talked till con closed. Coffee at a diner on Flatbush. Eggs over easy mirroring fragile peace. Stories unearthed. Nicholas's foster art. Sketches of that oak. Brandon's unpublished journal. Camp poems dog-eared. Laughter cracked ice. But trust's rebuild was scaffold, not stone. Date me, Brandon proposed. Earnest as a pitch. Old school. No empires. Dating in the city was a rom-com reel. Picnic in Prospect Park. Dodging joggers with falafel. Indie flick at Nighthawk. Fingers laced in dark. Ferry ride to Staten Island. Winds whipping as they necked by rails. Sex reignited gradual, first base in the cab home. Hands under shirts. Second at the penthouse. Oral exploratory. Brandon on knees. Savoring like fine scotch. Full reunion waited. Tension coiling like a spring. High came crashing. Marcus's appeal. From cell. Unearthed evidence. A forged diary entry. Nicholas confessing love as motive for theft. Media frenzy reignited. Ex-lover's revenge plot? Cops raided Nicholas's Astoria. Lulu shrieking as drawers dumped. Innocent. But optics toxic. Hail tech stock wobbled. Investors fleeing. Brandon's board ultimatum. Cut ties or we do. He chose Nicholas. Public statement scorching. Slander from a convict. My partner is Hail Tech's heart. The partner dropped like a bomb. Queer media cheering. MAGA trolls raging. Protests outside HQ. Rainbow flags versus. Pickets. Chants clashing. Inside. Nicholas paced Brandon's office. Fury electric. You outed us for damage control? Brandon pulled him close. Firm. For us. No more hiding. Solidarity surged. Queer coders hacking counter-narratives. Viral threads exposing Marcus's lies. But personal toll mounted. Nicholas's gigs dried. Hate mail scrawled on door. Faggot thief. Nights turned vigilant. Lovemaking fierce, bodies slamming. Claiming defiance. One storm-lashed eve. Thunder rumbling. Nicholas straddled Brandon on the rug. Riding hard. Nails scoring. Yours, he growled. Circling hips. Drawing groans. Brandon flipped. Pinning wrists. Thrusting deep. Always. Release thundered. Bodies quaking. Storm outside paling. Yet fracture lines spidered. Brandon's workaholism resurfaced. Late calls from Tokyo. Mergers swallowing weekends. Nicholas stewed. Feeling sidelined. Am I girlfriend or ghost? Fights escalated. Words weapons. You promised no empires. This is the empire. Our future. Distance yawned. Silences heavier than subways. Crisis peaked at Pride, Irony's parade. Float riding. Rainbow draped. They waved to cheers. But mid-route, a bottle sailed Marcus sympathizer, shattering on the barricade. Shards nicked Nicholas's cheek. Blood welling. Chaos. Medics swarming. Brandon shielding. Roar feral. Our wait was agony. Stitches quick. But the cut deeper. See? Your world breaks me. Nicholas whispered. Mirror reflected scar pink. Brandon shattered then. In the cab home. Tears hot. Then leave it. Leave me. Nicholas cupped his face. Thumb tracing jaw. Not without you. They drove in silence. Handclasp lifeline. Penthouse loomed. Inside. Undressing gentle. Bandages peeled. Kisses featherlight on the wound. Lovemaking healed. Slow grinds. I locked. Whispers weaving vows. Nicholas entered him first time. Tentative. Then sure Brandon arching. Vulnerability bared. Love this you. Gasped with each glide. Climax a wave cresting soft. Rebuild accelerated therapy tandem. Unpacking closets literal and figurative. Nicholas joined Hailtech formal VP Innovation. Equity stake sealing partnership. Dates balanced. Weekends unplugging to the Cape. Bonfires echoing camp. Esmore's sticky sweet foreplay. Sex diversified roleplay nods to power flips. Brandon in silk ties bound playful. Nicholas directing with coder precision. But fate twisted final. Anonymous tip. Marcus's cellmate. Bought off. Plotting hit from inside. Paranoia peaked. Brandon insisted safe house. But Nicholas refused. Live bold or not at all. Standoff in the kitchen. Dawn light slanting. I can't lose you. Then trust. Like day one. Resolution struck poetic. Con whistleblower. Ex-bookie turned states. Fingered the plotter. Bust swift. Threat neutralized. Relief flooded. But lesson etched. Love's code demanded constant debug. 1 year post-verdict. Anniversary dawned crisp. Central Park oak. Leaves gold. Brandon knelt again. Ring upgraded. Intertwined bands. Etched initials. Forever. Glitches and all. Nicholas pulled him up. Kissing deep. Debug eternal. Vows exchanged under bows. City humming approval. Honeymoon in Provincetown. Dunes walks. Whale watches. Nights in Lighthouse B&B. Sex salty with sea air. Bodies bronzed. Back home. Life synced. Co-parenting a rescue pup. Charlie. Mutt with camp kid eyes. Chaos adding joy. Yet humanity's arc bent gentle. Charity arm. Hail hope. Funded queer foster tech ed. Nicholas leading. Mom's legacy lived. Scholarships in her name. Code camps for lost kids. Scars faded. But stories shaped. 2 men. Thieved and kept. Forging empire of heart. Years folded like clean code. Efficient and elegant. Hailtech morphed under dual helm. Brandon's vision scaled global. Nicholas's innovations democratizing finance. Apps for underserved Bronx kids trading crypto safe. Their penthouse evolved nest. Art from Nicholas's sketches framed. Brandon's journals shelved beside. Charlie the mutt ruled roost. Tail thumps greeting homecomings. Sloppy kisses claiming both dads. Love deepened roots. Branches sprawling. Morning's ritual. Coffee brewed. New York Times skimmed. Legs tangled under quilts. Sex stayed spice. Mornings quick and teasing. Hands stroking lazy to urgency. Evenings languid. Oils and exploration. Mapping new freckles from sun. Anniversaries marked bold. First, Coney Island roller coaster. Screams echoing Lost Boys. Fifth, vow renewal on that Brooklyn oak. Guests queer family. Lulu officiating in sequins. Sarah toasting with tears. Conflicts arose. Human as rain. Startup crunch. 18-hour days. Arguments over takeout cold. You're vanishing again, Nicholas accused. Fork stabbing lo mein. Brandon sighed, rubbing temples. For us, for the legacy. Reconcile came raw. Makeup sex on the office desk. Papers scattering. Nicholas bent over. Brandon behind, thrusts apologetic. Moans forgiving. Won't lose you, panted with release. Body slick. Hearts reset. Bigger storms. Health scares. Brandon's stress test flagging arrhythmia. Nicholas's freelance virus from a con hack. Hospital vigils mirrored moms. Hands clasped. Vows whispered. Together became mantra. Therapy tuning the channel. Humanity bloomed outward. Hail Hope exploded. Camps in every borough. Nicholas keynoting at South by Southwest. From foster to founder. Coding resilience. Brandon shadowed. Pride swelling. Their story tedified. Love's algorithm. When bugs become features. Applause thundered. Backstage. Quickie in green room, door locked. Nicholas against vanity. Mirrors multiplying gasps. Betrayal's ghost lingered faint. Annual audits. Marcus's appeal denied yearly. Letters from Otisville arrived. Rants at first, then pleas for forgiveness. Postmarked regret. Nicholas burned them, but Brandon read one. You won. Be happy. Closure's ash scattered in the Hudson. Orless. Parenthood beckoned subtle. Fostering a teen. Jamie transcoder with foster scars. Awkward dinners evolved bonds. Game nights with Mario Kart. Jamie's coming out met hugs, not hurdles. Adoption papers signed on a snowy December. Family sealed, 3 now. Chaos amplified. Aged graceful. 40s for Brandon. 30s for Nicholas, silver threading temples. Lines etching smiles. Vacations wilder. Burning Man Dust Bowl tents. Sex under stars. Bodies painted. Tuscany villas. Wine-soaked afternoons merging slow. Climax crested quiet. 20th camp reunion. Long Island sound unchanged. They arrived hand in hand. Ghosts greeted, old flames nodding respect. Bonfire circle. Stories spun. That kid with the glasses? He's my husband. Laughter roared. Later, by the dock. Waves lapping, they made love urgent. Clothes shed. Salt on skin. Forever, Brandon murmured. Entering slow. Eyes locked. Thrusts sinking tides. Climax crashing cosmic. Kneeling post-glow. Ring slipped. Platinum now. Engraved waves. Not proposal, but reaffirm. Still yours. Nicholas grinned. Pulling close. Glitch and all. Epilogue whispered human. Empires fall, but love compiles. In a world of crashes, they debugged eternal, 2 souls. Thieved once, kept forever. The locket, hung framed by the bed. Photo faded but fierce. Boys on boardwalk. Echoes of men in skyline shadows. New York pulsed below. Indifferent witness. As they slept entwined. Code complete. The end? Nah, updates pending. But for now, in the heart of the machine, happiness ran stable. No crashes in sight.